Yes, it is time for the show you didn't know you need until you had it. Matt Barrie back with you on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel. It is cheers to you on another Sunday, Bloody Sunday. If you're new to the show, thanks for joining us. If you've been sticking with us the first couple of weeks, thank you for your loyalty. Again, the ground rules here on Sunday, Bloody Sunday, it's simple. Pull up a Bloody Mary of your choice. I'll get into today's mix in a second. No judgment. We sit here, we laugh, cry, discuss, yell, cheer about a college football Saturday. So much to get to in today's program. Appalachian State continues to be the most entertaining team in the country. Texas A&M bounces back, and plenty of other things to discuss on a week 3 Sunday, Bloody Sunday. First, the most important part, as we always do, we'll get into the actual Bloody Mary in the toothpick of greatness. Today's toothpick of greatness, it's different this week. I like to change it up a little bit. So we got a couple of pickled asparagus in there. By the way, rookie move on my part. Narrow top to the glass, which is just making a mess. Either way, we'll make it work. Toothpick of greatness, peppercini, as always, standard. There goes the bacon. Spicy olive, a Swiss cheese type thing, a cheese in the Bloody Mary for the first time today. So we're working on a couple of different palettes. That's the toothpick of greatness. And as you saw, that just fell out a little applewood smoked bacon within the toothpick to kind of just make it sit in there nicely. It's a little bit messy, but so is a college football Saturday. So I think the messiness of the Bloody Mary and the toothpick of greatness all works out. Also, what's making today's Bloody Mary great? It is a ghost pepper sriracha. Ghost pepper sriracha. So how hot is it? They've got to give you a warning sign right there that says super hot. They're basically saying if you do this, you're going to take a the layer of skin off the roof of your mouth and tongue. But I got to tell you, as I said at the beginning, it's a no judgment zone. It's where we sit and recap college football and a Bloody Mary of your choice. I needed this today because, if you will, allow me to be extra hot this morning that my alma mater lost to Eastern Michigan. I'm going to say that again. Arizona State, Pac-12, Power 5, loses to Eastern Michigan out of the MAC. They were outcoached, they were outplayed, and they were completely unprepared. Now, it happened late at night. It went final at about 2 a.m. Eastern. I'm hoping between that and the lack of fans in the stands and maybe the network that it was being carried on, a lot of people didn't see it. But just a bad loss for my alma mater, Arizona State. So I'm sorry, cheers for your host, Matt, for his alma mater. Really just 30-21. It wasn't even close. I'm trying to get over it quickly. They've got Utah next week, but it's just one of those games that makes zero sense in college football. So I'm a little under the happy weather today because of Arizona State. So thank you for allowing me that moment. We shall move on to some of the other games. Let's start with the most entertaining team in the country in Appalachian State. I had Sean Clark on College Football Final with me last night, Saturday night. And I told him, I was like, I don't even know where to start with you guys. You're the most entertaining team that we've seen quite a while in college football. Let's just recap what they've done for the first few weeks. They had the 63-61 shootout with North Carolina, scored 40 points in the fourth quarter to get back in that game. They eventually lost in double overtime, but that was an entertaining shootout. Then they go and beat Texas A&M in week 2. They upset the 6th ranked team in the country. Because of that, they get College Game Day for the first time in school history. That scene was absolutely insane yesterday in Boone, North Carolina. And then all they do after that is pull off one of the more improbable endings we've seen in a long time. Troy had this game won. It was just about done until it wasn't. There was one play left for Chase Bryce. And here's the thing I had Coach on, we were talking about it, and they said they rehearsed this play in practice. So we kept saying throughout the highlights and the halftime and on College Football Final that Chase Bryce underthrew it. But I'm starting to believe now that the play is the tip. Now, I don't know if he meant to throw it so short. Either way, doesn't matter today. The Hail Mary, short, tip, touchdown, miracle on the mountain to beat Troy with no time left. We were sitting there watching it because it's like, oh, I can't believe App State's going to go down after getting the national audience on College Game Day. So me, Jesse, and Joey were sitting there. It's, by the way, right now on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel. There's a behind the scenes of what exactly Joey, Jesse, and I do on a Saturday. Have a good look at that. If you're wondering, like when I'm on here on Sundays talking about watching games all day, go find that video to kind of give you an idea of our setup. So we're watching the end of Appalachian State just because it's the final play. We see it go up. We see the tip, and we start screaming in studio. Because at that point, we're just waiting for the play to develop, but we don't know if he's going to get in the end zone. And he does. And it was an absolute remarkable pandemonium. It was one of those finishes that makes you love college football. I posted on my Twitter at Matt Barrie, MattBarrie. They typically make a little graphic for it down there at the bottom. I post the radio call of the game winner on my Twitter if you want to have a listen. And within that, I said, take a minute to listen and absorb what makes college football so great. And that's kind of what I want to hit on today's Sunday Bloody Sunday, is that yesterday was an example of when you strip out all of the conversation about the transfer portal and the NIL and coaches and everything that we try to find wrong, playoff expansion, conference realignment. Every time we try to find something wrong with the sport, something like yesterday happens, where the town of Boone, North Carolina, College Game Day opened up their doors to a place for the first time. And Boone responded. And it just gave you a sense. I love college towns. I love what makes them special. The restaurants, the coffee shops, the intimacy, the community-like feeling. When you go to a place like Boone that's never had that type of attention before, you really get the idea of what makes the fabric of a college football town so special. And then on top of that, the game delivers. It's what I love about the sport. You're not going to get that on an NFL Sunday. You're just not. You're not going to get that community involvement and the passionate fan base with the alums and the students. And then you're definitely not going to get that type of finish with the entire student body running on the field. Coach Clark told me on College Football Finals, like, Matt, it was absolute pandemonium. There were so many people on the field, he couldn't even get to the locker room to see his family after the game because everyone was out there on the field celebrating the win. And so if you haven't heard the call, look it up, go to my Twitter, find it, and really, really soak up what makes Saturdays so great. Because we only get it, we get what, 14 of them? We get 14 of them. We get conference championship weekend. We get the bowl games, which are different because they're at neutral sites. And then we get the playoff and the national championship. But Saturday, for anyone who was out there watching, it was on ESPN Plus. Maybe you didn't get to see it. If not, subscribe. Maybe you saw the highlight on College Football Finals Sports Center. Have a look at it, because to me, if I were to clip it off and I were to go to Europe and say, hey, friend watching EPL, do you want to see what makes American college football so great? I would give them a 5-minute clip of the College Game Day scene, the Hail Mary, and I'd say, here you go. Enjoy American college football. That's the blueprint of what it should be. So congratulations to Sean Clark and Appalachian State. Rolled out the red carpet for him. They delivered in what was, in my opinion, the game of the year so far. Let's go to Oklahoma, Nebraska. That game, 49-14, the final. I was a bit surprised in that I thought, typically when a coach gets fired, it goes one of two ways. It goes the first way, interim comes in, finds a little spark, finds a little motivational tactic to get his team to buy in and believe, and they hang in a game that they probably shouldn't, or in some cases pull off the upset. That's one way it can go. The other way it can go is if the team is so shocked that their coach is already fired through week 2 or 3 of the season, they just aren't ready. And they're just kind of stunned by everything that's going on. And that was the way it went for Nebraska and Mickey Joseph on Saturday. Those two teams, by the way, they've had 8 meetings when both of them are ranked in the top 5. Saturday obviously wasn't one of those. But Nebraska is going to be, and Trev Alberts, a program to watch because you saw some fans in the stands wearing higher Urban Meyer shirts. Urban was there yesterday for Big Noon Kickoff with Fox. Watch for Nebraska. There's already been reports that they did meet with him about the job. Can't substantiate any of those. It's out there with some reputable college football writers on the internet. So Nebraska in their first week without Scott Frost looked like Nebraska with Scott Frost. I will say this, if you're looking for a positive out of this for Oklahoma, we didn't really know who Dylan Gabriel and this team was yet because we hadn't really seen them pop. But give credit to Jeff Lebby, offensive coordinator. Brent Venables goes into Lincoln, which could have been a very emotional environment, and they get the win and looks dominant doing it 49-14. Oklahoma gets the win to stay undefeated. So I wanted to touch on that game just because the big news after we got off Sunday Bloody Sunday last week was Scott Frost got fired. I'm still stunned how that went down, that it didn't work out. But now Nebraska back in the market for a head coach. Hey, if you're a college basketball fan, I'm not going to get into college hoops on a college football Sunday Bloody Sunday, and I'm going to forget someone, so I apologize. But I want you to listen to a couple of schools that are undefeated. Kansas football, we'll get to them in a minute, and Lance Leipold. Kansas football undefeated, basketball powerhouse. Duke football undefeated, basketball powerhouse. Syracuse football undefeated, basketball powerhouse. And Syracuse, got the win yesterday against Purdue 32-29 in what was a back and forth game that was so entertaining to watch. It looked like Purdue was going to win. They went for a bizarre 2-point conversion to make it 15-10. Schrader and the Syracuse offense come all the way back down. They get the 2-point conversion. Purdue throws a pick six. I'm thinking the game's over. Then the Boilermakers, Aiden O'Connell had a game. He just drives them right down the field. They scored 2 touchdowns to take the lead. And then Garrett Schrader, towards the end of the game, to Aronde Gatson the third, with about 12 seconds left, hits a game-winning touchdown pass to win 32-29. I find this fascinating, the turnaround of Syracuse, because in 2018, I believe it was, they started 3-0. And that's when Dino Babers was kind of the hot coaching prospect, and Syracuse was like, well, wait a second, where did we come from? So to see them bounce back after a couple of bad seasons and just to add their name to the list of basketball powers that are 3-0, that was a really, really entertaining game. So Syracuse starts 3-0. Another basketball power. Again, I'm not going to do this too long, but Indiana Hoosiers, more of a historical basketball power. They've struggled of late. They're undefeated. They beat Western Kentucky 33-30 in overtime. And it's just another one of those schools, teased us a couple years ago, had a down season. Now they're 3-0. It's early. We don't know what to expect, but another basketball power, 3-0. UCLA, it was South Alabama, and they probably should have lost. Historic basketball power, 3-0. So kind of fun when you look at it. As of this taping, I'm going to be completely candid with you. We don't know where game day is going yet. There's been a big groundswell on social media to get them to Kansas Duke in Lawrence because both are undefeated at 3-0. So I'm sure that'll be announced later on Sunday, but would be fun to see those two teams get the national attention for football, a la what we saw out of Appalachian State. A couple of the big games I'm going to touch on, BYU and Oregon. BYU's had some injury problems this year. Their top 2 receivers are out, but they go to Oregon against a Bo Nix-led Oregon team that looked absolutely awful in week 1 against Georgia. We say it with Bo all the time. There's good Bo, there's bad Bo. And there was good Bo yesterday against BYU. 41-20 the final. The game wasn't even close. But Bo Nix's stats were really, really good. I'm going to read them off to you here. 13 of 18. You're not going to be wowed by the number of passes. 13 of 18, 222 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also did it with his legs. And when Bo Nix can do that, when he can both run the football and throw the football effectively, that's going to be a tough offense to stop. 9 carries, 35 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground for Bo. So he accounted for 5 touchdowns for that Oregon offense. This Pac-12, to me, is wide open. Washington, with Michael Penix Jr., the Indiana transfer, they stomp Michigan State. The score looked a little bit closer than it really was, When you look at the Pac-12, what Penix is doing, transfer Indiana, what Bo Nix did yesterday, BYU, transfer Auburn. You've got USC. They take down Fresno State late. They look every bit of the part. Utah looks every bit of the part. There are 4 teams right now in the Pac-12 just based on their start in the transfer portal. Cam Rising transferred a couple of years ago to Utah, but he's been there now. He was a part of the Rose Bowl team last year. But Caleb, transfer. Bo Nix, transfer. Michael Penix Jr., transfer. Their Pac-12's got some pretty good teams. They're going to start getting that national spotlight because they're going to be playing each other. But keep an eye out west. I know it's late and you've watched football all day, but there's some really, really good quarterback play in football being played out in the Pac-12 with Oregon, Utah, USC. We've got Paul Feinbaum. Check out that video. We recap the Saturdays each Sunday with Feinbaum. We got into Penn State, Auburn. I'm not going to get into that too much. We talk about the Brian Harsin angle of the Auburn game, but I'm going to touch on the Penn State angle because James Franklin, one of the great recruiters in the country, sometimes they go in and they show flat, and you're not sure why because there's so much talent out there. Well, Nicholas Singleton, true freshman running back, 176 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Absolute stud to go into Jordan-Hare as a freshman and beat Auburn 41-12. Sean Clifford has the experience at quarterback. But Penn State, if this Singleton kid could do that every week, they're big up front. They've got the veteran presence at quarterback. Put this all together. To me, when you've got these schools that go out of conference, specifically in a road environment in the SEC, they have loud environments in the Big Ten. I mean, hell, Penn State's got one of their own at their home yard in Happy Valley. But look at Columbus, loud environment, hostile environment. Michigan State can be a hostile environment. Michigan, the big house, they're used to that. But there's something different about a team from the northern part of the country going down south. The fact that they did so and did it in dominating fashion, 41-12, I believe, at least for now, Penn State should be considered a top 10 team just based on their body of work. So give Penn State, James Franklin, ton of credit. They go into Auburn and get the dominating win behind a true freshman running back who's really fun to watch. Arkansas, Feinbaum and I touch on this one. I'll say this briefly. We've had themes on Sunday Bloody Sunday, and the first one was how do you respond in week 2 after a week 1 big game in Arkansas was kind of the litmus test for that Cincinnati playoff team a year before. They get the win there. They avoid the letdown at South Carolina. Could they fall into the look-ahead trap against Missouri State? For about 3.5 quarters, it looked as the answer to that would be yes, because they've got A&M next week. Sam Pittman, Woo Pig, get the win 38-27, and it looked bad for a while. Nonetheless, got it done. We're not talking about them in an upset on Sunday Bloody Sunday. I did this in my week 3 preview. So I want to pay it off with Texas and UTSA. The problem with Texas has been over the past few years, show up at a big game and then stub your toe against an opponent you should be beating handily. This was a big week for Sark and the Longhorns to prove that this thing's headed in the right direction. They shoulda, coulda, woulda beat Alabama. You can't convince me that they weren't the better team on that Saturday when they played Alabama, but they come up short because Bryce Young's the Heisman Trophy winner. So what happens then? You lose your starting quarterback in Quinn Ewers. Maybe you're feeling yourself a little bit because you played Alabama till the end in a game you should have won. Then you've got UTSA. It'd be easy to overlook the Roadrunners because it's UTSA, smaller program down in San Antonio, coming to your yard. You expect to just roll out the ball and beat them. I thought that we would get an indication of the culture Sark is building. If it's close, like, well, kind of the same old. When are they going to be Texas again and just stomp teams they should? They're going to get upset. Then it's going back to the Tom Herman era where they just can't get out of their own way, or the Charlie Strong era. Or they do what they did yesterday. 41-20 the final. It was close for a while, perhaps a little bit uncomfortably so for Longhorns fans. End of the day, though, Give it to your best player. Bijan Robinson, 183 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was a big game for the Longhorns in that they had to get over Alabama, get on to another opponent with a lot of Texas-born players on UTSA and San Antonio, probably overlooked, chip on the shoulder. Texas didn't recruit me. It'd have been an easy day for Texas to slip up. They didn't do it. Credit, cheers, Sark, Texas got to win in a game that could have been very, very tricky for you. The big one, Texas A&M Miami. Again, Feinbaum and I get into that game. If you want to hear us break down kind of the ifs, ands, and buts, we focus on the Texas A&M side. I'm going to hit on Miami because I said going in, it was a big opportunity for Mario Cristobal, who's trying to get his alma mater back up and running, for them to go into an SEC environment, national television stage, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit on the call, and say, hey, you know what? Miami's back. Look, they probably could have won that game. Tyler Van Dyke, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He was missing Xavier Restrepo, his best receiver. He had to kind of spread the ball around a little bit to some other guys. They had a muffed punt. Tyreek Stevenson muffed the punt that gave A&M the ball deep in their territory, and they capitalized with the touchdown. But it's year one. You've got to get people to believe in what you're selling. Going into that game, Miami has talent. Mario's recruiting at a high level. But you need to establish who you are and who you're going to be. He's going to wake up today and look at that film. Miami's going to wake up today and look at that film and say, man, we missed an opportunity. We had an opportunity to go in there and win. That's the truth. But the ACC is still in front of them. They went and showed out, I think, pretty well in their first real test. And so Miami has to be feeling good. There's no such thing as moral victories. Coaches will tell you that. But in this instance, feel good about it. Feel good that at least the buy-in. Old Miami, by the way, may have gone in there and got their doors blown off. This Miami didn't. So credit to what Mario Cristobal, at least on the surface, appears to be building. And a good bounce-back win for Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M. After the App State loss, they switched the quarterback to Max Johnson. That could have gone any way, and they got the win. They're back in the conversation. In fact, Joey, Jesse, and I got in an argument in College Football Final. We'll call it a healthy football discussion about whether Texas A&M is done after the App State loss. I said I thought they were done just for the simple fact you can't lose to App State and be considered a playoff team if you're in the SEC. Their point was if you win out in the SEC West, you go to the SEC championship and win out there, you're in the playoff. Yeah, but do we really think that that's going to happen with Texas A&M winning out? So either way, good bounce back for them. Could have been another bad loss for Jimbo Fisher. He avoids that conversation for another week. Finally, I want to hit on this before we wrap up on Sunday Bloody Sunday. Notre Dame avoided disaster against Cal. They pull off the win 24-17 to get Marcus Freeman his first win as Notre Dame's head coach. This could have been a bad situation for Marcus Freeman if he'd have gone 0-4 to start his career, 0-3 to start the season. And they pulled out all the stops now. They usually save the green jerseys for a USC game, just a big rivalry, something special. They pulled him out against Cal. Why? Because they probably knew they needed some sort of emotional uplifting at home to kind of rally the echoes and get a win. And they did. It looked as if this was going to go by way of Cal, and we were going to have to sit up there on Saturday talking about what's going on with Marcus Freeman. Was he the right man for the job? We avoid that. Notre Dame gets the win 24-17. I don't know how many of their fans in the Catholic fan base are imbibing on a Sunday morning, but Notre Dame, if you are, cheers for getting that first win of the season. You needed the green jerseys to do it. So what? You got the win. That's all that matters. I'm going to start doing a little something on this show that we do on College Football Final. We hand out helmet stickers at the end of the show for the guys that had great finishes or great Saturdays that led the country in some sort of statistic, or they just really led their team to a victory. I do want to share who I gave my stickers to just because I think it's a fun thing to do here on the show and kind of bring you guys in a little bit. Muhammad Ibrahim, Mo Ibrahim from Minnesota, 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards. I gave him a helmet sticker. Minnesota dominated Colorado 49-7. I thought he was remarkable on Saturday and deserved a helmet sticker. And then I want to talk about Kansas and Lance Leipold. What an absolute crazy and good college football story. This program has been so bad. Kansas. Lance Leipold comes in from Buffalo. He's got Kansas 3-0 for the first time since 2009. I gave my other helmet sticker to their quarterback, Jalen Daniels, 158 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, and then 123 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. That's 5 touchdowns total to lead Kansas over Houston 48-30. Houston was a ranked team to start the season. They're now 1-2, and Kansas is 3-0. So cheers to my helmet sticker players. Cheers to you, the beautiful fan, for hopping back on a Sunday Bloody Sunday. If you're in my boat with your team and heartbreak and you guys lost, this will be fine. This will fix it. And if I may, the ghost pepper sriracha, that'll set you right, because I'm going to need this for the rest of the day, because Arizona State's got Utah next week. And if they can't beat Eastern Michigan, well, what the hell do you think is going to happen when Utah comes to visit? So I appreciate everybody watching. Tell your friends about us. Have a Bloody Mary. Enjoy your college football Saturday. We'll see you next week, week 4 of Sunday Bloody Sunday. Everyone enjoy the rest of your football weekend. Cheers.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.